Hey guys, good morning on this Tuesday. The past few days we've been talking about how things breathe, and let's talk about kind of an adjacent thing, and that's how we move that oxygen around in our bodies, and that's through something called the circulatory system. This is slide number 25 in your notes. You could think of the heart and all of the blood in your body, and it doesn't just move oxygen, it moves CO2 out of the body, it moves waste products from your cells to your kidneys. It moves sugar from your food to your cells so they have energy. This is the system that moves stuff around in your body and it circulates things. It's called the circulatory system. So I'm going to try and go through this system pretty quickly for us, but there is some comparative things that we're going to do. So you are welcome to do this lab. In fact, I would love you to do this lab. It's called the Keeps on Pumping Lab. I'll give you a few days to do it. It's on slide 26 here. You can click on this thing and it brings you to this lesson and it talks about all these things. There's a calculator to calculate like your heartbeat. You'll need to measure your weight and your height. And then you can figure out these things called cardiac output. That's how much blood your heart pumps in 1 minute. There's this nomogram that you're going to need, and that one is used to figure out how much surface area you have on your body. And in order to do that, you have to match up like the height in feet. So I'm 5'9", and that puts me right about here. And as far as weight goes, I'm about 170 pounds, and kind of where they cross right in the middle, that is the amount of skin on your body. So I'm at about like 1.9 square meters of skin if you stretched it out and laid it flat. And that's important because we're trying to figure out how much blood you have in your body. So that's the reason for that one. Let's go back here. There's a bunch of math in this lab, and if you walk through it and do it, it won't be too difficult to do. I do have a lab sheet that kind of walks you through. There's other things you're going to figure out, like stroke volume. That's how much blood your heart pumps in one beat. Boom, boom. How much blood is that? That's the final goal here. And it has you like measure it out in a graduated cylinder and pour it into a cup. And you may not have that at home, so maybe you can't do it. I don't have a graduated cylinder at my house either, so I wouldn't be able to do that either. I will tell you that it should be poured out into a little cup if you were able to, and the number should be anywhere from, let's say, 40 milliliters to maybe 100 milliliters, like that kind of range. So if you get something way out of that, you're probably kind of off in your math. So like 40 to 100 milliliters, not too much, because remember your heart is not huge, and this is the amount of blood it pumps in one beat. So that's kind of the goal of this thing. Um, the calculator is pretty cool. You enter your age. You have to measure the beats of heart beats per 15 seconds, and you plug that number in there. I do that with my neck, going right on the side of my trachea, that big tube, and I press fairly firmly, and you should be able to feel the heartbeat. And you measure it for 15 seconds. You just count it and plug that number in there, and you hit calculate. So let's say Mr. Dro's in here, and I don't know how many beats I get. Probably like 11, and calculate. It's probably more like 12 for me at sitting down. And it'll tell you how many beats your heart beats per minute, and how many per day, and how many per year, and how many in your lifetime. So it's kind of cool little calculator to use. So you'll need all that information, your weight, your height, and your heart rate, and then your skin to do this lab. So it's pretty fun. I will not be grading it because I know not everybody has a scale, not everybody has a ruler, but it's just kind of a neat thing to do if you want an activity to do at home, if you're looking for something. Back to our notes here. This is our diagram of the human heart. Notice that it is starred, and it's starred because I would love you to know all the chambers in the heart. And there's a few videos that you can click on to watch as well. Also, if you pull up your notes and you drag from the bottom, there should be things here that tells you about the blood color. So if you see it's blue, that means it's oxygen poor. And if you see red, it's oxygen rich, which means it's probably got oxygen from the lungs. So chambers of the heart, let's go through this. The blood enters through these two veins, this first chamber, and this is called an atrium. Atrium's at the top of the heart. This one happens to be the right atrium, and you might look at yourself or might be thinking to yourself, Mr. Drill, it's on the left side of my screen. Imagine this heart inside of your body. This is the right atrium. It's on the right side of your body. Blood enters this chamber first, and there is a valve here that keeps it from just flowing into the bottom part of the chamber. But when that valve opens up, blood can go into the right ventricle. From there, the valve will close. It's like a set of one-way doors. And when you push on the heart or squeeze it, blood would want to go back there, but it's going to close those doors up, those flaps. And so blood is then forced up and out of this artery, which is a weird artery because it's a blue artery. We'll talk about arteries here in a second. But it's up and it splits, and then this artery goes out to the lungs. So one here, and then this one here goes out to the lungs, where blood picks up oxygen, it drops off CO2, and then it's going to return back through these veins right here. And these are weird veins because they're red, into the left atrium. And so that's that upper chamber again. Blood always enters that red chamber, or that upper chambers first, the atrium. From then it's going to open up this valve and blood will go into the left ventricle. From there, from the left ventricle, the heart's going to beat again. You can think of a heartbeat like boom, 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 boom. And it's one side of the heart and then the other. Once this left ventricle squeezes, blood can't go back through this one-way valve, so it's forced up through this aorta, out to the body, down to the legs and stuff behind the heart. So that's generally the blood flow. Let's review the chambers again. This is called the right atrium. This is called the right ventricle. This one's called the left atrium, and this one's called the left ventricle. Today's stuff is definitely taking a look at these two videos. I want you to watch both of them, please. So if you want to pause this one now and go to your notes and click on these two links and watch both of them, that would be awesome, but that's part of it for sure. All right, now that you saw those, I want to head to the next slide here, slide number 27. So let's talk about a few of the tubes that carry blood to and from the heart and what they're called. You can move these things out of the way. If you slide them out of the way, you'll notice that a vein is a blood vessel. So that's a tube in your body carrying blood. And here's the thing that makes a vein. It carries blood to the heart. It carries blood to the heart. So blood that's going to the heart is going there in a vein. Usually we represent those with the color blue for oxygen poor. Why? It's coming from the body, and the body has the cells have used up all the oxygen, they dropped off CO2, and it's being brought back to the heart so it can be pumped to the lungs. And so that means it's kind of, I would call it like used up blood. I mean, blood gets recycled all the time anyway, but it's kind of used up all of its oxygen. Underneath that is the word artery. You've probably heard that before too. Arteries do the opposite. They carry blood from the heart out to your body, and they're usually red because they're usually oxygen-rich blood. So they're bringing this good oxygenated blood that came from the lungs out to the body, and we call those things arteries. And then that's the last term here is capillaries. Capillaries, they're both arteries and veins, if you will. These are just like tiny little branches of the blood vessels. And this is actually where diffusion from the cells into your blood and from your blood into your cells occurs. So you have capillaries all through your skin, and a little test would be, I have pretty light colored skin. If I was to press on it hard with my thumb, I can actually squeeze the blood out of the skin, and it gets pushed to other areas, and you'll notice that there's a little white mark where my thumb used to be, and eventually the blood will come right back and you won't see that mark anymore. But just a gentle firm press in my skin, I can push the blood out of all these tiny capillaries, and my skin changes color a little bit. It's kind of a cool thing to do yourself right now if you want to. But those are the three types. It is starred. It's one of those things that you should definitely make sure that you know and remember for a quiz or something. That a vein carries blood to the heart, an artery carries blood away from the heart, and capillaries are little tiny blood vessels that are in your skin and in your intestine and in your brain. And this is where these branches bring all the blood to the cells that need it. So we've covered most of the heart stuff. I want to focus a little bit more tomorrow on the different hearts that are out there. Um, you know, we can label bloods and capillaries and arteries right now, and that'll be really quick and easy to do. So tomorrow I want to focus on some different animals. Veins, remember, are mostly blue, so we can label that real quick. This is on slide number 28. We just drag that arrow over. We know that arteries are mostly red, and there is a big artery right here. Okay. And then capillaries are just little tiny blood vessels, little tiny branches within the body. And they're just going to be the tiniest tubes that you can find. So I'm going to use some here in the shoulder. So that's just labeling parts that are bloods, capillaries, arteries, and veins. And these are tubes that carry blood through your body. Okay. Yeah. Have a good rest of your Tuesday. Try that lab out if you want to. It's kind of fun. Again, you don't have to.